Welcome back to the Ask Lee segment, and as always, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer on the segment, then simply leave those questions in the comments to the video. If you're listening on the podcast, you can leave a voice note if you go to anchor.fm/Lee W. Johnson. And let's have a look. Today's question is from Alchemy Lover, and it's regarding demons that can assist in necromancy. Welcome to my channel. You are entering the world of magic and mysticism with your host, Lee W. Johnson. Keep the lights on and help improve the channel by becoming a supporter for just $2.99 per month. Hit the join button. Okay, so straight into Alchemy Lover's question. They did say, thanks Lee, new to your channel, I admit to binge watching a lot of your vids, great content, thank you, and thank you for joining. I have a question, which demon do you suggest working with for assistance in necromancy? Cheers. Alright, so there's quite a few demons you can work with in this regard, and it obviously, when we think of necromancy, there's an old view and a new view, if I can put it that way. So the old view was that necromancy was divination by raising the dead. Okay, and anything which has mancy at the end is usually referring to divination using. So it's a method of divination. However, necromancy has come to mean more than just the divinatory aspect. So, within the purview of necromancy, we now find allowing or helping the dead to cross over. We also have the usual mediumship where you call in the dead and you speak to them, which falls under the arena of necromancy. Or the divinatory arts, but it can extend into a lot of things. It can extend into helping the loved ones who are left behind through their grief. It can be or extend into graveyard work. So there's a lot of areas we can actually look at in terms of necromancy, and so there are a lot of demons you can work with in this regard. Now, two of the best books for this are by S. Connolly. There is Honoring Death, the Art of Necromancy, and then following on from that is Keys of Orcat. So Connolly has, in Keys of Orcat specifically, has a lot of demons that are listed and their attributes listed and what they are best for to work with in this regard. Amongst some of them, Azazel, Eurynomus, Bulberith. Bulberith is the Prince of Dying. There's Baba El. Baba El is often considered to be Baal or Baal. You'll find Baal as the first demon in the Goetia. Baba El is a keeper of graves. There's also Mephisto, Beleth, Boon, and then extending into Hades, Hecate, Thanatos, Anubis, and there's a whole list of gods and goddesses from the Egyptian pantheon which are listed in there as well. So there's a lot we can work with. Now, personally, I work with, I suppose we could say, a team. So most of the bees, but I would personally suggest Eurynomus, Bulberith, Baba and Boon and Leviathan. Some people would choose Beleth instead of Leviathan. I'll explain why. So Eurynomus is the god of death, or the demon of death. So Eurynomus would be considered to be more or less an overall aspect of the entire necromantic arts. And the energy of Euronymous is very comforting, very warming. So Euronymous can be called on for all of the aspects, if you ask me. So Euronymous can be called for helping grief, as well as helping the dead. So Euronymous is probably the main go-to usually when it comes to demons related to death and necromancy. Bolbereth is the Prince of Dying. So Bolbereth focuses, or I find, Bolbereth focuses a lot more on helping the dead cross over and things like that. So it is the aspect of dying rather than focusing on the loved ones left behind and their grief, and rather than the aspect of the actual part of death after crossing. Channeling and things like that. This is more the process of dying itself. So he is the Prince of Dying. Then if you want to do graveyard work, Baal, Keeper of the Graves. You can call on Baal during an actual funerary ceremony, during the funerary rites. In fact, I would call on all three. I usually work with all three, Euronymous, Bolbereth and Baal in this respect, for the entire funerary process. Because there is the dying process, there's the release that needs to happen, there's Euronymous, which covers the demon of death aspect, and then there's also the Keeper of the Grave, so that's the funerary aspect with Baal. Then, if it's anything to do with mediumship, so if you are going to use a talking board, or you're going to do table tapping or direct channeling of the dead, I would suggest working with Boon, or Bune, as some people say. Now, Boon is often thought of only as being a demon which can help you with finances, monetary gain and things like that. But Boon also has a necromantic aspect, and this is mostly in regards to guardianship or protector. She is very good at keeping an eye on the gate, keeping an eye on the portal which you open. So when you do any kind of channeling work or any kind of mediumship, what you're going to be doing, especially when we're working with the dead, what you're going to be doing is opening a portal. And I think a lot of people throw themselves into this and they don't even consider the portal aspect, which means that they usually don't close it afterwards, and then it becomes a bit of a problem. Which is why things like the Ouija board, the talking board, spirit board have gotten a bad rap and a bad name. Spirits getting attached to them and things like that, because people don't work with them properly. So with any tool, if you don't work with it properly, you could end up with problems. So when you are doing that kind of mediumship or channeling, talking with the dead, you are going to be opening a doorway between the worlds, and then things are going to be coming through. And when you open doorways or portals between worlds, the one thing that usually gets attracted to it are astral parasites. So if you haven't got a proper guardian at the door, then the astral parasites just come rushing through. They see, opening, light, let's go. So Boon is a very good one to use here. It's my suggestion anyway. Ask Boon to stand at the gate and guard it. And she will keep out any of the trash, really. And you can also ask Boon to just bring through the spirits that you want to deal with, you want to talk with, and she will kind of keep check. And then when you're finished, remember to close the portal. If you don't know how to close the portal, find out and practice. It is a very important thing. You can't just say thank you and put the board away or put the tool away and then walk off. You're going to leave this big door open and nobody guarding it. So you need to learn how to close the portal after you've done the work. Let's see, and then we have Leviathan. Leviathan I work with for grief, for helping those who are left behind with their grief and to get over it. Some people will focus on Beleth here. I have worked with Leviathan in the past for this specific thing, and the results have just been astounding. Leviathan helps with emotions, helps with emotional imbalances in general, not just in a necromantic form or helping grief of loved ones and things like that, but in a general aspect, Leviathan helps to balance emotions. So if you do have an emotional imbalance, you can work with Leviathan to help correct that. And the same applies when we are talking about grief and loss. We can go through months and possibly even years with that grief, and it will throw us from one side of the room to the other. It will continue to be an imbalance until it's dealt with, until it's actually healed. And Leviathan, I find that what Leviathan does is he kind of comes in and he helps to balance those emotions out so they're not like throwing you all over the place on a constant basis. Balance the emotions out, and it allows the person to not feel them as intensely but still have them. So they are still experiencing those emotions, because those emotions are very important in that process. So still experience and still have them, but kind of almost remove themselves from that, so they can watch, they can observe, they can understand what's going on, they can understand the process that's happening, that has happened, the process of the person dying, the process of the grief that they are going through, the importance of it, but not be completely and utterly consumed by it. And that process itself allows them to kind of view it from a different perspective, from a different viewpoint, and allows them to heal from it. So I would consider that to be a very important thing. And so yeah, those are the demons. Let me just check my notes here. I don't think there was anything else. No, that's really it. I would definitely suggest getting honoring death at least. It's a very, very good book, very important book actually for this specific thing. And Keys of a Cat is a bit more advanced. So start with honoring death. If you do want to continue into it and delve into it a lot further, then Keys of a Cat will. Keys of a Cat starts talking about gate opening, actual banishing, exorcisms, funerary rites. So it goes a lot deeper into the aspects that you would need if you become a necromancer. But if it's just a one-off thing or passing interest, something that you want to understand more, but you don't necessarily want to delve into and become a necromancer, then Honoring Death is a fantastic book. It really is. All right, so that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week for more. Have a good one. Until then, cheers for now. Bye bye.